Hi, my name is Julie Mumtazi. I'm currently a sophomore at the college and I'm studying economics. I'm very honored to introduce our next individual speaker, Melina Hale, who currently serves as Dean of the College at University of Chicago. Dean Hale got her PhD in biomechanics in 1998 and joined the UChicago faculty in 2002. Her biological research has been widely published in leading biological journals, and she served on countless leadership positions at University of Chicago. As Dean of the College, she serves a vital role in implementing key themes of the college, such as intellectual freedom, freedom of speech, and inclusion. I'm very honored to introduce Melina Hale.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Julia, and thank you to all of the organizers for having me speak today. I really appreciate it, especially with this being such an amazing student-organized and student-led event. It's really incredible. And I apologize for not being able to attend the other sessions earlier. This morning, I was participating in a college Zoom for our newly admitted students, the class of 2029. It's very exciting. Yay. So the title I was asked to present on was The Educational Mission of the College of the University of Chicago in the Context of the American Identity. And I want to start by discussing two of those key terms in the title. First, educational mission, and then American identity. So in educational mission, I want to note that we don't actually, as an institution, have a mission statement. We have a deep sense of mission. We talk a lot about what we value, rigorous inquiry, curiosity, and data, wherever they take us intellectually. Taking on big challenges we talk a lot about, and openness to discussion and debate. Even the aims of education, proxy for mission, are up for a discussion here. So many of you, all of my undergraduates, know that each new class of college students, including the class of 29, starts off its education in the college with the Aims of Education address. It's given in Rockefeller Cathedral. It's a grand event. During the address, an invited faculty colleague expounds on their view of the aims of collegiate education. As dean, I'm the person who decides on and invites the speaker, and per tradition, I do not influence their decision on content, other by requesting that they include views on what they see to be the aims of education. Of course, from year to year, these lectures make different points. They provide different opinions, marshaling different evidence and life and academic perspectives. Even perhaps especially for this first big lecture, the speaker's argument of the aims of education is by design up for debate and discussion. And students go back to their houses immediately after with an academic discussant to consider the lecture's point in greater detail through conversation. Maybe the closest thing actually to a mission statement that the university has is our motto, let knowledge grow from more to more, and so be human life enriched. We'll come back to this one later. I want to talk about that. But I would say for the college, our unofficial motto, perhaps deeply ingrained in our sense of educational mission, is that we teach students how to think, not what to think. And that's been attributed to various leaders, including Hannah Gray, and also Margaret Mead, who's at Columbia. As one of my predecessors, Don Levine, said to the incoming class of 1995, 40 years before this coming class, we promise that you will know the difference between an opinion and an argument, between a good argument and a specious one, that you will credit the quality of argument even when it is made in favor of conclusions with which you disagree. We work to accomplish this in a number of ways, particularly with the core curriculum, grappling with primary texts in a wide range of fields. We go further in majors and in research with faculty, where students work more deeply with knowledge and how to think through problems in specialized areas. So I raised specializations and majors, and that leads us into another important concern related to education mission. What topics do we cover in this time we have with students? There's a deeper question under this, asked by Ed Levy, a past president and also actually a past college dean. What knowledge is worth having? Now, we all answer this important question for ourselves every day when we decide what newspapers and books to read or where else we choose to get our news and information. In high schools and earlier grades, students receive a general education with state standards set for content and level. Those entering the college are then accomplished students already. They have exceeded standards and learned a lot, and they are adults, not children. They're largely owning that decision of what knowledge is worth having for themselves. Our core curriculum insists on disciplinary breadth, but there's choice for students to preference what they want to spend their time learning. In and beyond the core, they are free to specialize as they wish, and as they can meet prerequisites and pass courses, they can participate in a wide range of programs of study developed and governed by academic experts in these fields and reviewed by leaders and accreditors. So switching to American identity, I'm speaking here as the dean of the college, but my frame of reference is also as a researcher, as you heard from Julia. I'm not a researcher on Rousseau or disciplines of thought on American identity. I cannot give a learned academic view on American identity. In training, I'm a scientist who studies mechanism, neuroscience, and change over time. I am, though, a citizen, I am patriotic, and I care deeply about our country and its future. Perhaps simplistically as a citizen and as a scientist, to understand American identity, I go to the Constitution for the multidimensional workspace within which American identity is constrained and can flourish. Within that space, we as individuals diffuse and interact and bump into each other, influenced by many other factors such as wealth, history, physical environment, and custom. The identity of an institution and how it reflects and contributes to American identity is always anchored in its history. The people who have inhabited it, the choices faculty and leaders have made. Here at the University of Chicago, for example, we have reinforced schools of thought and strengths in a number of fields, such as economics, and have not engaged with others, such as traditional engineering fields, mechanical, electrical, and other. But institutional identity is deeper than that, of course. And at UChicago, our free expression principles, consistent with the First Amendment, are protected and practiced and foundational. Our principles leave the space of opinions, argument, and criticism for the people of the university community. You know, the title, going back, I mentioned two terms, but it also speaks to context, the education mission of the college, of the university, in the context of American identity. So with those thoughts on mission and identity in mind, we'll start at the start of the university for context, and then we'll come back to the present through these remarks. So our university was founded in 1892 by the Baptist community. This was a second go at a Baptist university in Chicago. The first attempt had been in 1857, and there are many twists to that story, but that university closed in 1886, failing financially. American identity in the 1850s was very different than it was in the 1890s. At the founding of that first university, 1850s American identity was divided over abolition and slavery. The position on slavery also split the Southern and Northern Baptist churches. That difference worked its way into the practical efforts of starting this institution. The position on slavery of Stephen Douglas, who provided land for the venture, and his association with the effort riled abolitionist Baptist leaders. In a time of divisiveness over American identity, the founders never really seemed to have a sense of mission, and perhaps relatedly, lacked any strong financial footing. By the founding of the University of Chicago in 1892, the Civil War had been over for a number of years, and the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, the Reconstruction Amendments, were ratified. There was surging immigration and labor. Ellis Island also opened in 1892. The intervening years included the Great Fires of Chicago in 1871, lesser known in 1873, financial downturns as well, but the city rebuilt and had grown enormously. It was the second largest in the US after New York, with significant industries including baking and trade. In 1892, great wealth rested with a few in Chicago, and there was widespread poverty. In 1892, the Baptists actually were also under significant pressure to compete. There was quite a university startup environment in the 1800s, largely driven by religious communities. In Chicago, just in Chicago, St. Xavier University, a Catholic institution, was founded in 1846. A group of Methodists founded Northwestern in 1851. Loyola, Catholic institution, in 1870. IIT has a connection to the Congregational Church in 1890. And notably, not on those lists are the Baptists, who had also been starting universities too in other places. Brown in 1764, Wake Forest in 1834, Stanford University, previously Howard College in Birmingham, Alabama in 1841, and Baylor in 1845. So in the late 1880s and early 1890s, embarrassed by failure, unable to get the higher ed foothold of other religions in Chicago or Baptist communities around the country, they aimed to try again. The community was more settled after the war. They were ambitious, and they were able to secure significant financial support from John D. Rockefeller and other wealthy Baptists, particularly in the Chicago area. And they brought a significant, compelling leader in William Rainey Harper to be president. William Rainey Harper was a scholar of religion. Actually, he was a Hebrew scholar. From the beginning, this Harper-led university was open and appealing well beyond the Baptist community. So it was intentionally secular in its students, committed to the identity of free expression, noted by Harper as the most distinctive mark of a real university, and committed to research at the highest level. Harper's remarks from opening exercises for students, this was in Cobb Hall one night after classes, speaks of a sacred moment for the university, the city, and the region. For all of us, he said, for the city, for the country, for humanity, and for God, this night, this hour is heavy with significance. He lists 3 objectives for the convocation. The third is interesting, particularly for the college. That is to bind together into a unity the many complex and diverging forms of activity which constitute our university's life and work. The world of undergraduate study here was meant to be connected with the research enterprise, with formation of new knowledge, and the professional schools of the university, not a separate space for younger minds. Harper's commitment to the university and its ideals was deep. He died from cancer in 1906 after a year begging doctors actually to keep him going for his university mission. He's honored in many ways on campus and in the neighborhood. My office is in Harper Memorial Library, to which I walk from my home, which is on Harper Avenue. I had mentioned our motto previously, let knowledge grow from more to more, and so be human life enriched. That motto actually dates back to after Harper, to 1910, when a committee led by then-President Judson sought recommendations for a permanent seal. The committee was at pains to find a motto that captured the spirit of the university as it existed then, and rejected dozens of submissions that sounded more appropriate to other institutions or to the values of the past century. President Judson complained that most of the suggestions were, in his words, more or less hackneyed, and he sought advice widely. The committee in the end was taken with an idea from Paul Shorey, a professor of classical Greek languages and literature. Shorey combined a line from Alfred Tennyson's poem In Memoriam with some phrasing from Virgil's Aeneid, and in a moment of inspiration, in a train car actually, rendered in words the self-understanding of the faculty as it had taken form in teaching and research since the university's founding. That motto survived through some fierce debates in the decades that followed, and even rejection from a sitting president. When President Robert Maynard Hutchins proposed a new motto in 1944, this time drawn from Walt Whitman, the faculty senate said no. We had it right the first time. Just because it's amusing, so bear with me, and we like differences of opinion here, it's very UChicago, here's what Hutchins said. He said, I must confess that I have never liked the motto of the university. In the first place, it seems incongruous and affected for those rugged and unsophisticated pioneers in the 90s. To think up a Latin slogan for their raw, new university. In the second place, enriched is ambiguous. I do not like the materialistic interpretation to which it is open. Therefore, I suggest a new motto for the university, one which will express its spirit and its purpose as it sallies forth to battle in the revolution that must come if men are to live together in peace. The new motto I suggest for the university is a line from Walt Whitman. It is this: solitary, singing in the west, I strike up for a new world. perhaps not as much staying power as he might have thought. And so 2 things to note. First, that faculty insisted on this growing of knowledge being really who we are as an institution, and they prevented change. Faculty governance is important. Completely irrelevant to this whole discussion, but also kind of funny and interesting, our first idea for a school color was orange, actually, based on a common local flower. That proposal led to an outcry of theft from Syracuse that had just been founded and was apparently the first school to adopt orange as its color. And so we ended up with beautiful maroon. For time, I'll fast forward to another important president, Edward Levy, and the college of the 1960s and beyond. Levy was also a critical figure in the university and in the college. Actually, Levy also previously had served as provost, and for a short time, as dean. He particularly wanted to be dean in order to enact organizational change. He said some things he wanted to fix. In the intervening years since Harper, particularly with the vast energies and ideas of President Hutchins, who I've mentioned, there had been experiments in the college, informative but not universally successful. By Levy's time, we were back to a place that looked much more like today, particularly through his work. Levy reorganized the college to provide structure to learning and to reinforce the elements of mission we discussed, the importance of learning how to think in a range of ways, and the importance of curricular content. For example, the college put structure to expert faculty oversight and governance with the formation of collegiate divisions. Levy noted that the need at the college level is to have the educational mechanisms responsive to the tension between the impossibility of learning everything and the need to know enough, between the demands of one field and the importance of knowing others, between the craftsmanship of the specialist and the conversion of insights gained from the specific into the more general. With new governance, we reorganized the importance of faculty as leaders in their disciplines of study, and also the importance of governance to coordinate among courses and programs of study. Levy was actually also the one that more clearly articulated the value of a college in a research university as related to the education mission. He said, "One theme which runs through what I have said is the relevance of research to teaching and learning. The structures of the intellectual world can be admired, but they are never truly known until they have been worked with, used to comprehend new knowledge, and refashioned to repair the damage done to them by new facts and theories not previously accounted for. There's a unity to knowledge to be sought after, and the community of scholars adds to the successful pursuit of research when it tries to explain the framework contemporaneously arrived at by the separate disciplines. This generalizing and explanatory function can be one of the great contributions of the liberal arts college to the research drive of a university. There should be a natural affinity, therefore, between the liberal arts and the research functions of the university. Possibly a better organization of undergraduate study would break down the barriers between undergraduate and graduate work, not because the college is regarded as preparatory, but because participation in research illuminates the fields of study." How does this relate to the American identity of that time? Well, research and development spending surged in the 1960s. It was a boom time led by funding for space projects, but also with elevated federal funding across the board compared to the 50s or the 70s. There was opportunity, and it is not surprising that the college was pulled into this wonderful momentum. Of course, that time was also marked by the Vietnam War and campus protests. In 1971, the 26th Amendment was ratified, lowering voting age from 21 to 18, giving young people of age to fight in our wars a vote in electing our leaders. This was also a new role in citizenship for our college students. So now I do suspect, actually, that the task of my talk was to talk about the educational mission of the College of the University of Chicago in the context of American identity in 2025. We talked about mission, identity, and context in time. Notably, though, after its founding in 1892, these key characters of our mission and identity have been remarkably constant from those years through the 1960s and to today. I will get to today. So for identity, if one thing marks our institutional identity, it is freedom of expression and the First Amendment. Our Calvin report says beautifully, the university is the home and sponsor of critics. It is not itself the critic. This position leaves a whole range of positions open to our community on campus and our invited guests. People are honestly always mad at us all the time, I get this too, about our not making statements. And I can understand the anger and frustration in that. I've had many difficult conversations talking through this with faculty and alums and students and parents and others. And I hope in the end, even if they disagree and think it's misguided, they understand us. Today, we see this in the response to current government actions. The University of Chicago's president, Paul Alivisatos, has shared several messages with the university community over the past months on policy landscape, navigating this time, and our enduring commitments. And people are working so hard to meet the demands of the moment, not with statements, but with actions. The university has joined suit with other institutions on indirect cost rate, for example, and the president has also spoken of the potential of reform to produce profound damage, as well as to provide opportunity to approve and achieve more. Most recently, in personal experience, I was accosted at events last weekend about the American Association of Colleges and Universities statement. President Alivisatos has not signed it, and I absolutely stand by his decision. In fact, in his role of responsibility for our institutional identity, I really don't see that it was a choice. In addition to not making statements, for me, the last lines of that particular statement that call for engagement of the signers on behalf of current and future students and all of us who are at and benefit from our institutions was striking and problematic, whether you interpret on behalf to mean representing our voices or our interests. Even if we at UChicago now did hypothetically all agree with a particular statement or path forward, which is extraordinarily unlikely to the point of absurdity, we also need to be open to future members of our community who may not agree with us. I'm also sure that there are many who are arguing for this statement and who are fine with it, fine with its content, but would object to the president speaking on their behalf on many other things. I hope that freedom of expression and individual voice, and particularly minority viewpoints, are respected as we meet the current critical moment in higher education. I also spoke to a sense of mission, and just to end with that, of course, our focus on students learning how to think in a number of disciplinary contexts is so important to us today, and we think about it all the time as we develop the college. Being mindful of the question, what knowledge is worth having, and giving students resources and programs in a wide array of areas so that they can decide those things for themselves is incredibly important to us. And providing research opportunities. Research is what we do as a university. It was Harper's focus from the start. Engagement in research provides such important opportunities and learning for students. The confidence that comes with the discovery and being the expert on that data or analysis, the maturity and understanding that knowledge grows and becomes refined as we explore questions more deeply with new tools and experiments. And seeing, as I guarantee you, that how knowledge grows from more to more is not linear. It is iterative and can stall and be frustrating and surge with discovery and exhilaration. And that's just such a wonderful experience for our students to have. So I'll just end there and say I'm so proud and so glad to be a part of this community of faculty and students and all the people who are with us here. And we'll lastly just say thank you again to the organizers for having me here today. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dean Hale, for delivering this fantastic remarks. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. There's snacks and refreshments out in the back, and then we'll congregate quickly here at 4 p.m. for our next individual speaker. Thank you.